VegMichigan is so honored to have Dr. Greger with us this evening, and I'm sure for the majority of everyone with us tonight, he needs no introduction. However, just in case, let me tell you a little bit about him before we get going. So Dr. Greger is a physician, best-selling author, and internationally renowned speaker. He is leading the movement when it comes to sharing the health benefits of plant-based diet in America and across the globe. With his wealth of knowledge and a great sense of humor, Dr. Greger is bringing more and more people into the plant-based community every day. Dr. Greger is also the founder of the nonprofit nutritionfacts.org, where you can watch videos of him speaking on almost every nutrition-related topic imaginable. So check it out and you will find an abundance of helpful information. If you have any more questions after tonight, nutritionfacts.org is definitely the place to go to get your answers. And if you want to support the work of VegMichigan and help us keep events like this Q&A, our other presentations, and events like VegFest free, the best way to do that is to become a member. And the basic VegMichigan membership is only $20 a year. You can become a member by going to vegmichigan.org and clicking membership, or you can click the link I'm about to add to the chat right now. And thank you in advance for your support. All right. Here we go. Okay, so Dr. Greger, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We're so excited to have you back. Are you ready to get into the Q&A?
I'm ready to rock.
All right, great. So the first question we had was someone was just curious if you could share your plant-based journey with us. What initially led you to a plant-based diet, plant-based lifestyle, and have the reasons for you being plant-based evolved over time?
Oh, well, for me, it all started with my grandmother. I was just a kid when my grandmother was sent home in a wheelchair to die with end-stage heart disease. She had so many bypass operations, basically run out of plumbing, get so scarred up inside. Confined to a wheelchair, crushing chest pain, her life was over at age 65. Then she heard about Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers, and what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. It talks about Frances Greger, my grandmother. They wheeled her in and she walked out. Was given a medical death sentence at age 65 thanks to a healthy diet. Was able to enjoy another 31 years on this planet until age 96 to continue to enjoy her 6 grandkids, including me. That's why I went into medicine. That's why I changed my own diet. That's why I started nutritionfacts.org, why I wrote How Not to Die, why all the proceeds from all my books all are donated directly to charity. I just want to do for everyone's family what Pritikin did for my family.
Wow, what an amazing story. It's such an impactful experience. All right, well, for if someone else is completely new to plant-based eating, do you have some tips that we can suggest to help that person transition from their omnivorous diet to a more healthy, whole food, plant-based diet?
Oh my God, there's this great group called VegMichigan. You got to check them out. Though, if you're not privileged enough to live in Michigan, there is an organization, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, has this great program called the 21-Day Kickstart Program. It's 21daykickstart.org. And it starts at the first of every month. It's completely free. Hundreds of thousands of people have done it. It's a bunch of different languages. Basically, you jump feet first in for a 3-week trial of trying to give a whole food plant-based diet a try. And so you get daily, you do it as kind of a social media group, and you get daily inspiration and recipes and kind of support each other in hopes that by the end of the 3 weeks, your own body will tell you how good you feel on this diet. Many people report, even if they don't have some kind of disease they're trying to reverse, better energy, better sleep, better digestion, less painful periods, on and on down the list. So then the end of the 3 weeks is no longer just a doctor wagging their finger in their face. It's their own body telling them this is the way to go, but you don't know how good you're gonna feel until you give it a try.
Absolutely. All right. Yes. Great resource to check out for anyone new to plant-based eating. Okay. So someone was curious, are there certain veggies that should be cooked, or does that typically reduce nutrient availability? And additionally, do mushrooms need to be heated to safely consume?
Great questions. And so there are some nutrients that are actually, you boost the absorption by cooking. So you get, 4 times as much beta carotene in your bloodstream eating cooked carrots compared to raw carrots. You get
Hmm.
more of the cancer-fighting red pigment lycopene in tomatoes from processed tomato products like tomato paste than you do from eating raw tomatoes. At the same time, there's some nutrients that are heat sensitive, such as vitamin C. And so, you microwave broccoli for 2 minutes and you get about 15% detriment in vitamin C. But that just means if you like cooked broccoli more than you like raw broccoli, then eating 6 florets of cooked broccoli instead of 5 florets of raw, and you get all the vitamin C that you would have lost. And so the bottom line is that we should prepare our vegetables in whichever way gets us to eat the most of them. If you like them raw, eat them raw. If you like them cooked, eat them cooked. The only exception really is kind of tempura, like deep fried vegetables. It's not good for you. So I wouldn't recommend that. But other than that, eat vegetables in whichever way you'd like. And interestingly, with mushrooms, there is a compound, a heat sensitive toxic compound called the agarotine, found in the agarous group of mushrooms, which is white mushrooms, and the portobello mushrooms, and then kind of the brown mushrooms is actually the same exact mushroom. It's agarous bisporus, I believe. And so little white mushrooms actually turn into the criminy brown mushrooms, and then they turn into portobello mushrooms. So little white mushroom grows into a portobello. That's kind of cool. And so what the mushroom that you get at the store is just when they want to harvest it. Similarly, like green peppers turn into red peppers anyway. But and so that one mushroom contains this compound that you really want to cook out. It's not hard to cook out. You can microwave. I have a video talking about exactly how to do it. I think like 60 seconds in the microwave destroys the vast majority. And so you want to put, white mushrooms or portobello mushrooms or something in it. That's an easy way to do it. But all other mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, you don't have to worry about cooking. You can eat them raw. You can eat raw oyster mushrooms if you want to, or raw shiitakes, because they don't have this particular compound in them. The morel is the exception. So morel mushrooms need to be cooked and cannot be eaten with alcohol. There's a reaction between compounded morel mushrooms and alcohol that can lead to problems. But I think that's it. And of course, don't eat poisonous mushrooms. Don't eat foraged mushrooms, even if you're pretty sure that they're safe mushrooms, because as little as a single bite of certain mushrooms can wind up in the hospital or worse. So no forest mushrooms. Cook your morels. Cook your white crimini and portobellos. And no alcohol with morels. And that's pretty much it. Then party down. And mushrooms are wonderful for you. I don't want to scare anyone off mushrooms. I talk about my upcoming book, How Not to Age. It's this unique amino acid found only in the fungi kingdom called ergothioneine. It's been called a longevity vitamin. And if we're not eating mushrooms in our diet, we're not getting it. And that's one of the primary reasons I go out of my way to include mushrooms in my diet. You can get these if you don't want to get them fresh because you might not use them in time. You can get dried mushrooms, which are really like these dried porcina mushrooms are my favorite. Incredibly rich, wonderful flavor. You soak them in some water and use that broth for sauteing or for pasta sauce or all sorts of wonderful things you can do with mushrooms. But yeah, we really should try to get mushrooms. If I was doing a baker's daily dozen, if I was going to add one food to the daily dozen, it might be mushrooms, because that's where we're going to get our ergothioneine.
All right. Very good to know. Yeah, mushrooms are great. Do you have, I know you said you love porcini. Are there like particular ones that are, have the most health benefits that you really recommend we get?
Well, actually,
Any of them are
for
great.
ergothioneine, oyster mushrooms have the most.
Okay.
They're the most concentrated. So if you really just like, I don't really care about flavor or anything, I just want my ergothioneine, damn it, then oyster mushrooms. And you can actually grow oyster mushrooms yourself. It's really cool. You get these little kits. It's basically like a bag of like sawdust with little oyster mushroom spores, and you just like water it, and all of a sudden out of the mushroom, out of the side of the bag, bursts this huge cluster of cool oyster mushrooms you can do right on your kitchen counter. Kids love it. It's very, very cool. And you just like they just keep coming. You eat them and they come more. It's very cool. So just like you can, make broccoli sprouts in your own home or something like that, super healthy. You can do the same with oyster mushrooms if you buy a kit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I've actually done that before. It's really
Oh,
it's
cool.
really rewarding to grow your own mushrooms, definitely. All right. So someone said, we've heard different things about soy and cancer over time. Do we know at this point if soy tends to be protective against some types of cancer, or is it still considered to potentially increase risk of some types of cancer?
No, protective. And the reason is this is so it's true before 2007, we really didn't know. Because in some laboratory animal models, like in hamsters, it was bad, and rats, it was good. And then we have to figure out, wait a second, are we more like hamsters? We're more like rats. We really didn't know. Until finally we had the first human trials. There's now been 5 studies involving thousands of breast cancer survivors. And you put them all together, and those who eat soy after a breast cancer diagnosis live significantly longer, significantly lower risk of breast cancer related mortality, and significantly lower risk of cancer recurrence, meaning cancer growing back after surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy. So soy is protective in terms of epidemiological studies showing between 30 and 50% lower risk of breast cancer in women that eat soy, particularly starting in their teens. That's where you get the 50% numbers. But it's never too late to start eating healthy. So that's actually one of the reasons that is my preferred milk, is soy milk, unsweetened soy milk. Out of all the options now, there's all sorts of crazy milks out there. But we want to get those isoflavones in, and which are essentially relatively unique to soybeans, not even found in other beans to the same extent. And so we're going to miss out if we don't include soy. Now, of course, the healthiest source of soy is whole soy food. So not soy milk, which has had most of the fiber removed, etc. But you can buy soybeans in a can. And if you want a bonus, you get black soybeans. Black soybeans have these berry-like anthocyanin pigments for all sorts of extra stuff. I'm actually going to do a video about the benefits of black soybeans. So if you're going to eat soybeans in a can, try to get black soybeans in a can. I actually grew black soybeans for the first time this year. I was all excited to eat like black edamame. How cool would that be? Turns out, no, they're still green at that immature stage. They don't turn black till later. Ah, darn it. But I'm still super cool. And so, or eat edamame, which is a fun snack. You eat them in pods. Kids love them. You can get bags of frozen pods. Just open a bag, throw in some boiling water, and basically when they're warm, they're done. Or you can air fry them, and then just sprinkle them with nutritional yeast or black pepper or Tabasco or whatever you love. What a fun, delicious snack! It's like my go-to movie snack. Is edamame. Or tempeh is a fantastic whole soy food. You can actually, unlike tofu, which is a mildly processed soy, they actually remove about half of the fiber, half the minerals, to make tofu. I mean, soybeans are so healthy, you can remove half the nutrition, still a super healthy food. But tempeh, you can actually see the individual soybeans in there, right there in front of you. And so that is a whole soy food. Plus, it has the benefit of the fungus mass that holds it together. That's the kind of mushroom kingdom. And so it actually has ergothioneine in it. And if you're like, oh, I don't like mushrooms, okay, eat tempeh, because you're getting those compounds that you're not finding anywhere else. And also a leading source of spermidine. And you say, what is spermidine? You will find out in my book, How Not to Age, which will be out next year. Believe me, it's good stuff. It's an autophagy activator. It helps your body kind of clean out its cellular garbage. And tempeh is a great source, and so is wheat germ. One of the reasons now I mix wheat germ with my ground flaxseed to sprinkle on foods throughout the day.
Wow. All right. Good to know. I need to eat more tempeh and also try some black soybeans. That sounds great. All right. Okay. So a very common question. Someone is wondering, how often and how much B12 should I take?
Oh
And
my
what
God,
about
I'm
other
so glad. What a great question. I feel like I slipped you that question under an assumed name. Yeah, no, a super important question. Critically important for anyone eating a plant-based diet. It doesn't have to be a strict plant-based diet to get a regular, reliable source of vitamin B12. You can rely on B12 fortified foods, but probably the easiest thing to do is take a vitamin B12 supplement. You can take 50 micrograms a day, or you can take 2,000 micrograms once a week, get all the vitamin B12 you need, costs less than $5 a year, you know, super easy, but critically important to do it.
Absolutely. They were also asking, well, they say they take also calcium and vitamin D in addition to B12, and wondering if they're missing any other supplement that they need, or.
They should not be supplementing with calcium. So if
Oh, okay.
I did a video talking about the safety of calcium supplements, and we do not believe they're safe. That spike in calcium causes a hypercoagulability state in your blood and can increase your risk of heart attacks and other negative outcomes. And so I encourage people to get their calcium from whole foods, the healthiest which are low oxalate dark green leafy vegetables, which is all dark green leafy vegetables, with the exception of beet greens, Swiss chard, and spinach. All the other green, which are great greens, but just stingy with their calcium. All the other greens, like bok choy and kale and collards, is really the healthiest source of calcium. And one of the reasons I encourage people in my daily dozen of healthiest of healthy foods to include in your daily routine, dark green leafy vegetables and cruciferous vegetables in particular. And vitamin D is only necessary if you get insufficient sunlight, which many people don't get enough sunlight. What else one needs to supplement? Depends on your own personal, if you're an alcoholic, if you're pregnant, if there's a whole bunch of different conditions which may be particular to you, which may require. I encourage all pregnant women to ensure adequate iodine intake, with the easiest of which is probably just taking an iodine supplement, critically important, particularly during pregnancy. It should be in prenatal vitamins, but often it's missing from prenatal vitamins, which is just outrageous. And so you want to make sure you get a iodine source. One nutrient to consider is 250 milligrams of a pollutant-free long chain omega-3 fatty acid like DHA. And so there are algae-based and yeast-based sources. And so you don't have to worry about heavy metal contamination like you do in fish oil. This is not for your heart. Omega-3s don't appear to help the heart, despite what we used to think, but may indeed help your brain, help cognition, particularly in older men. And so I would consider 250 milligrams of gluten-free DHA. And you say, what do I mean consider? Should I take it or should I not? What I encourage you to do is watch my videos on the subject and make up your own mind. Some people watch those videos and like, I'm not convinced. Okay, that's a legitimate position. Other people watch the video like me, consider all the science and be like, it's probably a good idea until we know more. And that's the position I've taken. But it's not like vitamin B12, which is over which there's no controversy. Like you absolutely have to take it, period, no questions asked. But yeah, I think it's something people should consider, and so that's why I lay out the science, people to make up their own mind.
All right, good to know. Yes, go check out Dr. Greger's videos, nutritionfacts.org.
And then there's some other things like, so for example, I encourage people to take a quarter teaspoon of turmeric every day. Some people, now I encourage people to use it as a spice. Some people don't like the flavor of turmeric and so don't eat it. In which case you could take that as a supplement, not some turmeric extract, but actually just one ingredient, straight the spiced turmeric in a little capsule. So for people who don't like turmeric, that's how I encourage people to make their daily dozen. There are other spices so it's not really a supplement, but if you want to take it in a pill rather than sprinkle on your food, that's fine. Other things like that, I've done videos about amla, which is dried Indian gooseberries. Again, it's just a fruit. It's not an extract or anything. But there's really remarkable properties to this wacky Indian fruit. And so I encourage people to, to try to get to amylin every day. The problem is the stuff tastes horrible. And so I encourage people like put it in their smoothies or something that's so strongly flavored that you won't even taste it. But again, if that just doesn't fit into your schedule, you could take amla in capsules. I encourage people to try to fit black cumin into their diet for a variety of reasons. I talk about that black cumin in How Not to Die. I have a bunch of videos about it. It's again just a simple spice, quarter teaspoon a day, has all these remarkable properties. And it basically, you can use like black pepper. And for people who are like, well, I don't like pepper. And so, okay, fine, you put it in you put it in a capsule. And the final one is something that no one's ever heard me talk about here as a VegMichigan premier. Something I'm going to talk about in How Not to Age is piperlongumine, which is a compound found in a spice called long pepper, which is in the black pepper family, but it's a different plant. And this is a longevity compound, which I'm really excited about. And again, it's kind of has a black peppery, and it has some kind of white pepper numbing quality to it. Anyway, if you don't like it, you could put it in a capsule or buy capsules with it. So that's what I was actually doing, because I was on the road a lot. And so it's not like I don't know, I wasn't taking little spice canisters around with me. So I was just taking capsules filled with these various herbs or various spices. And I would just take them on the road with me. But that's actually expensive. It's ridiculous. To that, they take turmeric, which is, I don't know what, 10, 15 bucks a pound. And by just putting it into little capsules, they charge like, 30 bucks for a little bottle, which is just like a teeny, like an eighth of a cup of turmeric or something like that. And so I was a little frustrated. So was my solution. This may sound a little weird. And again, this is a VegMichigan first. I will do videos and stuff about this. I'll probably do an actual like cooking video about it. Edible film. Stick with me here. You can get little sheets of one ingredient, edible film, which is just straight potato starch. It's see-through. It's like this little, whatever, a little transparent sheet of potato starch. And then it comes in circles, it comes in squares, and it comes in little pouches, like little cones. So cones are probably the easiest. They cost 2 cents each. And so you mix all your spices together. So I put a pound of turmeric, a pound of long pepper, a pound of black cumin, and a pound of amla in a big bag. I mix it up. And then I take a teaspoon every day and I spill it into my little edible film cone of potato starch. And then you fold it up and you dip it in water, and it causes it to kind of seal up. And then you swallow it, and you'd think, well, wait a second, I'm having trouble swallowing big pills. How could I swallow a whole teaspoon of something? Well, the difference between that and a pill is it's squishy, unlike a pill, which is hard. So it's actually very easy to swallow. And so you swallow it down, and you don't want it to get stuck. So you drink a whole glass of water. And so I just ate, a quarter teaspoon of each of those spices, which together would be some noxious concoction. But of course, you don't even taste it because the edible film, it takes like a minute to dissolve. And so it starts dissolving in your stomach. And so you can try this with any kind of powder you want to get in your body for whatever reason. So I just did a video yesterday on fenugreek powder. And so if you want to take fenugreek for whatever reason and you hate the taste of fenugreek, boom, edible film. Anyway, just a suggestion.
That's such a good tip, honestly, to create your own supplements. I love it. All right. Someone asked, what is known about diet and autoimmune illnesses? Are there foods that can help prevent these illnesses or slow their progression?
Absolutely. And help treat them even better. Yeah. So in general, autoimmune diseases are inflammatory diseases, where your immune system attacks your own body tissues for whatever reason. And so yeah, it's no surprise that eating an anti-inflammatory diet may help. And so we have data, not for all autoimmune diseases because we haven't been tested against it, but we have good data on plant-based diets for the prevention treatment of rheumatoid arthritis, with an autoimmune joint disorder, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis with an inflammatory bowel disease, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune nerve disease, and there are case reports for autoimmune thyroid disease and ankylosing spondylitis. This is painful spinal joint disease. And lupus. And we have good data on lupus as well, which is kind of a generalized autoimmune, a more generalized autoimmune disease. I'm trying to think what else pops to mind. So I don't know, dairy protein may play or may not actually be the protein, but dairy may play a role in the development of type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease. So by reducing dairy exposure could reduce one's risk, though once you have it, there's little one can do other than hormone replacement therapy, which is insulin injections. What other autoimmune diseases? I think those are the ones we have the best. Oh, I just saw a case report on psoriatic arthritis. Whole food plant-based diet for psoriatic arthritis, which is another type of autoimmune joint disease. Haven't read it yet, but excited. And if it's something juicy, I'll do a video about it.
All right, very good to know. Okay, the next question, and there are a couple of additional questions to go along with it, but someone was asking, do you have general advice on how to overcome osteoporosis with plant-based foods? And then they said for a female with osteoporosis, how much calcium should they have per day? And then someone was also asking what the best source for vitamin K2 for someone with osteoporosis is.
Oh, all sorts of good questions. Okay, so I have preserving your skeleton. I have a whole chapter in my upcoming How Not to Age where I talk about the osteoporosis drugs and pros and cons, and I take a deep dive. And bottom line, the biggest thing is really weight bearing exercise. It's a use it or lose it situation. You know, astronauts in space lose about 2% of their skeleton every month. And basically people on Earth who are lying on the couch all day are basically like, you know, floating around. And you know, your body's like, why am I spending all this time making a strong skeleton if you're not going to use it? People think of a skeleton as some kind of inert tissue, but no, it's constantly being remodeled and grown and torn down. It's an active, living, breathing, bleeding tissue. And so day to day, your body makes more bone or makes less bone. And how does it know to do that? It does it by the demands you place on it. And those eating healthy diets may be at higher risk. Why? Because they're slim. If you are skinny, then you're not putting a lot of weight on your bones. Whereas if you're obese, it's like carrying around a 50-pound backpack. Of course, the backpack is on your front, but it's still. And so just walking across the room, you're doing weight bearing exercise, right? You could be 100 pounds overweight. Imagine carrying around a 100-pound backpack. Your skeleton will be super strong, right? Because it's just getting signals all day long. Quick, we need a really strong skeleton. Whereas if you're skinny in particular, your body, even if you're active, your body's like, I need a strong skeleton. I don't need a super strong skeleton. And so that's why critical weight bearing exercise an hour a day. People who are slim can wear like weight vests while they work out. It just put even extra added weight. And then the reason we care about strong bones is we care about the prevention of bone fractures. And much of that has to do with fall prevention. It's not so much a better determinant of whether or not you're going to break your bones is actually not bone mineral density, not the strength of your bones. It's what your fall risk is. And so I have a whole section on what we can do in terms of getting rid of throw rugs and all sorts of things that can increase your risk of tripping, falling, because even with strong bones, you can break your bones. And I mean, you could have the weakest bones in the world and not break any because you're not falling. And so fall risk is a critical part of that. And so I go into that as well. In terms of how much calcium, we all need to get at least 600 milligrams of calcium. We should not get that from supplements. We should get that from whole foods, particularly, again, most kinds of greens. And in terms of K2, there's no need for K2 at all. There's no known requirement for vitamin K2. K2 there, we do have need for vitamin K. There's basically two major classes: K1, which is found in where? Dark green leafy vegetables, and then K2. There's about a dozen different types of K2, none of which have we ever determined a need for. So that's why all recommendations, official recommendations for vitamin K, just rely on how much vitamin K you need. So that's one of the reasons why we should eat greens every day. But there have been some that say that there are vitamin K2 benefits for the brain, for the bones, and for the heart. And so far, no, it's not true. However, should at some point in the future, convincing data arise that there is some benefits of vitamin K2, no problem. Your body makes K2 out of what? K1. So you eat K1, and not only does your microbiome produce K2, but all the cells in your body can take K1 turned into K2. So there's no requirement for K2. We don't even think K2 does anything in the body. But even if we did find that it did do something, or you're somehow convinced it does something, don't worry, your body makes it. But it's used as a common, you need to, vegans need to take K2 because it's found in animal products. It's a certain type of K2 found in animal products. Because well, guess what? How does that K2 get in that animal? The animal makes K2. Guess what? You're an animal. You make K2 too. Stupid. Anyway, so I got a webinar coming up tomorrow. I have a webinar on vitamin K tomorrow. But basically, you just heard everything, which is all you need to do is eat your greens and you're set. Boom, quick webinar.
All right, love it. Eat greens. Okay. Let me see. So the next question is, my question is in regard to calcium and how it hinders iron absorption. In short, is this something I need to worry about or mitigate in any way?
Nope. Because you shouldn't be taking whopping doses of calcium anyway. You should be eating calcium in whole foods. If for whatever reason you want to increase your iron absorption, so for example, if you have iron deficiency anemia, that's caused by inadequate iron intake, I would encourage you to eat vitamin C rich foods with your meals, because that boosts the absorption of iron. So with iron rich foods like legumes, whole grains, you would eat vitamin C rich foods in your stomach at the same time. So that's citrus, tropical fruits, bell peppers, broccoli. Vitamin C plus the plant-based iron boosts the absorption. You should not, however, go out of your way to boost iron absorption willy-nilly. You should only do it if you know you actually need extra iron, because iron can act as a pro-oxidant. And so ideally we want low iron stores. That's the ferritin. We want low iron stores, but not too low that it interferes with blood production. And so we want to be non-anemic with low ferritin, low storage iron. That's the ideal place to be. So we don't want to go out of our way to increase iron absorption unless we know we actually need it.
All right, good to know. Okay, someone said, what causes a weight loss plateau and what can you do about it? They say, I'm whole food, plant-based, no oil already, and basically eat the same thing. And they walk several times a week, but lately the scale isn't moving.
Yes, so it's actually, it's amazing. It's a whole chapter on this and how not to diet. Is you're actually not eating the same thing. So the reason that about 6 months into basically any diet that in any way restricts calories, the reason that you plateau at 6 months is because you actually change your diet back towards your baseline diet. Even though people don't recognize this, they swear they're sticking to the diet. If you actually observe them in institutional setting, they actually go back. The reason they stop losing weight is because they don't eat the diet like they used to eat the diet at the beginning. The answer is to actually stick to the original diet. And that is, and so look, I wrote a whole book, my How Not to Diet book. Check it out at your local library. Talking about, so the first half is basically whole food plant-based diet is the best diet for weight loss, and in fact has been shown in randomized controlled trials to be the best diet at 6 and 12 months than any other diet ever tested in history. And so, okay, but it sounds like you've already done that. So then the second half of the book is, all right, you're eating whole food plant-based, you're not losing as much weight as you want to. What can you do to accelerate extra weight loss? And so that's the whole weight loss boosters things. I talk about vinegar and cayenne pepper and all sorts of other cool things you can do to accelerate weight loss beyond just the whole food plant-based diet. So I encourage you to check out the second half of the book, and to continue to get down to a healthier weight.
All right. Okay. This person said, how do I bring down my bad cholesterol under 200 or under 150? I'm vegan 98% of the time. My physician is trying to get me to take statins. He said I'm a walking time bomb. Both of my parents were heart patients.
Okay, well, if this was not a typo and you actually have an LDL over 200, not total cholesterol, but an LDL over 200, then you are an undeniable candidate for statins, under the new guidelines. At 190, you automatically get drugs. We're not talking total cholesterol. We're talking about LDL cholesterol. Ideally, for primary prevention, LDL cholesterol has to be under 70, meaning you haven't yet been diagnosed with the heart disease. You can prevent being diagnosed from heart disease by getting an LDL under 70. It has to be lower than that if you already have heart disease, trying to prevent your second heart attack. But 70 is the ideal. And just cutting out the three things that raise cholesterol will bring you down to target, most people down to target, and that is saturated fat found predominantly in meat, dairy, and junk, trans fats, and dietary cholesterol found mostly in eggs. Just cutting out those things. Going on a plant-based diet, average LDL of those on plant-based diet is 68. So perfect, right on target. But of course, it's a bell curve, right? So some people, reach that even sooner. And some people are still on the high end, not 200 high end, typically, but, may have an LDL of 90 or 100, even though they've cut out the things that raise their cholesterol. So then you have to start eating foods that actively go out of your way to eat foods that actively draw cholesterol from your body. That's the portfolio diet, which was developed by David Jenkins at the University of Toronto. So he realized that different foods reduce cholesterol through different mechanisms. So you create a portfolio of foods that pull down cholesterol through different ways that kind of add together. And so portfolio diet is a plant-based diet, but specifically goes out of the way to include foods with a lot of soluble fiber, like slimy foods, eggplant, okra, oatmeal, and there's a list of all the foods that you want to include that pull your cholesterol down even farther. And so that's what I would recommend doing. And if you cannot get your LDL under 190, regardless of what you do with diet, then absolutely you are a candidate, probably more than just statins, but all sorts of new fancy drug classes. There is something called the familial hypercholesterolemia, where people have like cholesterol. You can have quadruple digit cholesterols and people die of heart attacks in their 20s and things. So even though it's not typically genetic, you may be just an unlucky victim. And so which case you still try to push it down as far as possible with diet, even if you do have to add drugs to the mix.
Okay, good to know. Let me see. Okay, someone asked what antioxidant foods are powerful and should be included in a diet.
Oh, well. Okay, so when antioxidant foods, so basically an antioxidant diet is synonymous with a plant-based diet. So 76 times on average, plant foods have 76 times the antioxidants as animal foods, but not all plant foods are the same. On a by weight basis, spices actually have most antioxidants. But it's a lot easier to eat an ounce of nuts than an ounce of nutmeg. Woo! So in terms of number of antioxidants per serving, well, sometimes spices would still actually win out, but berries. Berries are really the antioxidant superstars of the plant kingdom. That berries and spices. And so with little teeny tweaks, like adding a little dash of cloves to oatmeal, or a little marjoram or oregano to some spaghetti sauce, you can really, you can like double the antioxidant content of the dish. And then, adding berries to anything. So yeah, I encourage people. So berries are actually part of the daily dozen, because I encourage people to eat them every day. They contain these special pigment antioxidant nutrients, these anthocyanins, which have all sorts of brain benefits and all sorts of good stuff. So yeah, berries every day. Those could be frozen berries, dried berries, fresh berries, however you want to get them. Powdered berries, even. I recently I couldn't find frozen cranberries, which is crazy. I'm moved out in the middle of nowhere in rural Virginia. But it's like Thanksgiving's around the corner. I can't find frozen cranberries. That's crazy. Nor fresh cranberries. So I actually ordered cranberry powder, one ingredient, cranberries. It's just powdered cranberries. Because I wanted to get cranberries in my diet and couldn't get them. I finally found some frozen cranberries. So now I put the powdered cranberries up on the shelf for the next time I can't find cranberries. Yeah, want to get berries in our diet. It doesn't have to be cranberries, but I was just reading about the benefits of cranberries. Like, damn it, I got to get some cranberries in my diet.
All right, great. Eat cranberries. Okay. Okay, someone said I often feel sad around the days before and during the days that I have my period. Are there any specific foods you recommend I eat to help with this feeling?
There are, oh yes. If you type in PMS into nutritionfacts.org, I know I've done some videos about kind of mood dysphoria. Most of the videos have to do with pain and excessive bleeding, but I have done some videos that had to do with mood, but I forget what exactly it was. So I know the ginger helps with excessive bleeding. And I don't know. I forget, but I know I've done at least one video. So yeah, and it's probably under PMS.
Okay, good to know. Let me see. Okay, someone said I've been trying to find a local primary care doctor that values, coaches, and encourages plant-based diets and other healthy practices. Those attributes are not forthcoming when I search my company's healthcare portal. Is there a site or a way I can find a doctor I can rely on near me? If you have any recommendations for that. And the
There is a
similar question was,
fantastic organization called VegMichigan. Oh my God, you got to check them out. And presumably I'd ask around. I mean, that's the kind of thing where it's like, oh, well, where you just, you talk to fellow people that care about similar things. And that's where you find out, oh, I shopped around and finally found one that's really sympathetic or whatever. There are some lists. So the Plantrition Project, which is a nonprofit organization, I assume it's plantrition.org. They have a list of plant-based docs. McDougall has one. I don't know if American College of Lifestyle Medicine has one. I'm trying to think what else. I think there was a website, plantbaseddocs. I don't know if it was the .com or not. These are just some lists that different people have come up with, but probably better just to talk to people locally. It's like anything local. It's like you need a good carpenter, you need a good plumber or something. It's like you talk to your neighbors, like who isn't around, it's hard to know otherwise. And you'll just get the experience of people near you. It's funny, oh my God, our time's almost up. It's terrible. I don't think I've ever shared this story with my mom about my mom. She had been going to this primary care doctor she really loved, but had been kind of hesitant to tell her that she was vegan, that she was plant-based. Because doctors are so stupid and they don't know anything about nutrition, and didn't want to get where do you get your protein questions, all this silly stuff, right? But she realized that this is probably important for my it should be in my medical record. The doctor really so meekly she finally came out and said, I just want you to know I'm vegan. I eat plants, and her primary care doc said, oh my God, me too. And so, and then the doctor had my book and like, oh my God, you're her son. Oh my God. Anyway, so I don't know. It just goes to show there's lots of good doctors out there, and more every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. That's great. Well, it is, yeah, 7:46.
Oh my God, what a fun group. What a
It just
great
flew
questions. We gotta do this
by.
again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Would definitely love to have you back. Hopefully next time we can make it in person. We'll see how things goes.
Oh,
We'd love to see you
yay,
in
that'd be
person.
awesome.